Yeah, I'm Chris.
And I'm Steph. But who cares?
You got it. So you might have seen our season one recap, and we're going to be doing a episode by episode breakdown here for season two. And today we're going to be covering Alice in Borderlands season two, episode one.
Yeah, so we just were big fans of the show. Thought how fun would it be just to record what we thought after every single episode. So a lot of what we're saying is just based off of what we've seen. We have not seen
Episode two, or
yeah,
like
yeah.
we just
We've
finished
only
episode one.
watched we just watched episode one and now we are deciding to record our thoughts of the episode.
You got it. Well, without further ado, let's jump right in. The start of season two, episode one, is very reminiscent to the same start of season one, episode one.
Yeah.
We watch our hero Arasu essentially just playing video games. In this case, it is a little bit of a different version of the video game. And his dad actually comes in and is kind of reprimanding him for being a bum and not having a job.
Right. And I really noticed with the cinematography of this that they really focused on the fact that he's playing shooter games and it's like a killing game. And you really could see that they were like trying to show the irony, the fact that he's now almost inside of a very similar game to what he was playing in the real world.
Very much so.
Yeah.
After kind of this short flashback, we open up to a scene that we pretty much left off on with our heroes. It's Arasu, it's Usagi, Kawina, and the White Rabbit all standing kind of in the middle of like Tokyo's square, essentially,
Yeah.
waiting for this next series of games to begin. And around the corner, we see a bunch of people from the beach with cars, and they all show up at the same area, and no one really knows what's going on.
Yeah, and Queen even says there's like, oh, it's all the people from the beach, they're still alive. And basically is even brought up to her that it's like, how are all these people still alive? So she was very surprised, and it made a mental note to me. I was saying to Chris after the show, I was like, what's going on there? Like, because I don't know, the way it left off, I didn't realize how many people were still alive.
So I wasn't really that surprised by it. I guess I just assumed that a mass amount of people, or at least a fair group of people, went to the beach, and everyone else was kind of living off in the city, and they had formed like their own one or two person groups. And now, because there was this huge announcement, everyone's coming out to be able to view these. So for me, that's what it was. But to your note, it is interesting that Queen said a very similar thing.
I had no idea so many players were still alive.
It was funny because I had just thought that while I was watching. I'm like, I'm that many people from the beach are alive. I thought a lot more, like a lot of them died. And so then when she made reference to it, I was like, is the show telling us something? So I have some theories, but I'll wait to say what I'm thinking till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After this, essentially, the game kicks off without any sort of rules. We're not even really certain.
Basically, goes on a killing spree.
It starts off with a sniper rifle that can essentially shoot through cars, and then it follows up with an assault rifle. And then we get a scene of the King of Spades actually walking down the highway. He's kind of like in like this hooded robe. He's an ominous figure, and he's walking right toward our heroes.
I don't. What were your thoughts on that first scene? Because I know, like for me, I was sitting there. I'm like, really, one person is shooting all these people? I don't know. What were you thinking?
I found it a little surprising too that it was just a solo person, especially because they had guns at the beach. So I'm like, I'm surprised no one got out of the beach without any sort of gun to be able to fight back against this guy. And yeah, while he does have some heavy artillery, we're shown that he has an assault rifle, that sniper rifle, along with a couple of grenades. It seems like our heroes should have methods to fight back. Even outside of them having guns, they have cars that they could run into them with, as well as we get a scene where the White Rabbit hands Kawina an explosive that seems to be made out of like an orange soda, like a soda can type deal. I'll put the clip up right here. But they're not weak. They're not useless. He definitely has some better artillery than them, but they definitely have numbers on him.
Yeah, I don't know if we said this. I just realized, like, I don't know if we said that basically a big like banner comes down and it shows it's the King of Spades game, and then basically Arasu referenced that he believes the guy that was shooting is the King of Spades, which would make sense. It lines up. So yeah, once you basically find out it's just this one, because at first you think it's coming from all over the place because it's coming from all these different angles. So you think that there's multiple. You don't know where they're coming from. You think it's multiple people. It almost seemed like
it was multiple.
Yeah, you almost thought it was like the game makers or something were doing it, and maybe they were. I don't know, but I thought it was a little like far-fetched, but then again, that's kind of the style of this show.
Yeah, Alice in Borderland is definitely and maybe later on we'll find out that it was multiple.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. So, but I thought that was a little.
But moving into the next section there, our heroes are essentially pinned down by this assault rifle, and we get two other characters that pull up in a car.
Oh, Anne shows back up.
Anne shows back up. If you don't remember her, she's the forensic scientist that at least worked with the police department. And we get another character named Tata.
Which I wrote in my notes. I was just like, some guy from last season. I was like, who that? I turned to you, I'm like, who is this guy? I did not even remember him.
He really doesn't stand out.
I think he's gonna get killed off.
We saw him in the tag game, I believe, and then we also saw him at the light bulb game. He said he was working as a mechanic at the beach. Personally, yeah, I think he's meant to be killed off, but also I think he could be a dealer. He's he is so unextraordinary that I think could be a possible dealer.
I'm the one! The dealer of this game!
So I'm keeping my eye on him. But that's all I really have to say on Tata for the time being. And he gets off on cars.
I don't know if you said this, but when they jump in the car, a bomb gets thrown down and it separates them from the White Rabbit. And and so he kind of I don't know if that's
the last time.
Was that the last time we saw him on the episode? I can't remember, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that was
So they're going in the car. Kind of while they're in the car, they're wondering about what this game is, why nothing was explained, why there was no official start, everything like that. We have Tata and Anne switch places because she's the way better driver and she kicks it into third gear and takes off. I'm pissed off at Tata. If you look at the scene, and I'll put it right here, he's going 30 miles an hour while getting shot at by an assault rifle. This dude was trying zero to go fast. He was doing nothing to increase his speed.
This scene was ridiculous. I'm not even gonna lie. Like the whole King of Spades game scene, I was a little like, this is far-fetched.
Yeah, the King of Spades is everywhere at once. He's like climbing on a car at one point and like gets in. Like,
kind of gave me G.I. Joe vibes.
Yeah,
he felt like an evil G.I. Joe. Yeah, superhuman Nazi. I don't even know, like just some type of. Yeah, it was out there.
Yeah. After this, they end up crashing the car, but they do get away. They get separated, and we have Arasu, Kuina, Usagi, as well as Tata. They were able to find some sort of shelter in an upper building where Anne, as well as the White Rabbit, are now off on their own. They decide to go get kind of like food, and Arasu and Usagi end up splitting up. And we have a really cute scene between the two of them, kind of at this grocery store where there's light flirting.
Cash or credit?
And we get a good in-depth into their past and kind of their character motivations.
Yeah. I remember it. I was like, ooh, Arasu flirting with Usagi. So yeah, it definitely starts perpetuating even more further into there's some romantic tension between the two of them, which I ship. I like it. Ooh. But yeah, basically Usagi goes into how her dad disappeared in the real world and opens up to Arasu and basically starts expressing how she really didn't like the real world and almost insinuating that she would rather stay here. At least that's the way I was perceiving
that's what she said,
it.
1000%. She wants to stay
here. And so then I turned to Chris, I'm like, I have a theory already. And he was like, what? And I'm like, I think her dad's in the game. I think he's one of the face cards. You can say what you think.
I differ a little bit. I do think he's in the game, but I think he's in the game as a standard player. I don't think he's in the game working behind the scenes as a face card or a dealer or anything like that. But you seem fairly convinced that he has a deeper hand in this.
I think he has a deeper hand because just the fact that he disappeared, and last season we basically get shown that the time difference is different for each person. So who knows, maybe he was one of the first people that ended up in this whole reality, or he was whatever, maybe he created it. I don't think he created it. I'm not going that far in my theory, but I think he's one of the face cards. I think we're going to find that out. And I said to Chris to add on to that theory, I think because basically Usagi's opening up to Arasu, basically being like, I like this world better than the old world. And Arasu wants to go back to the old world. I think that there is going to be conflict potentially if my theory is right and her dad's in the game and maybe even is one of the face cards, she's going to want to stay or go with him, with Arasu when I say him. So yeah, those are my theories right now. Obviously things can change, but that kind of started digging. I was like, ooh, I think something's happening here. I don't know.
Yep. After this, we come over to we cut back to kind of their hideout where Arasu, Usagi, Kuina, and Tata are all together. And Arasu comes up with a plan. He says that he's been seeing the blimps all over the place, and he thinks that if they enter another game, they will be out of the king's range because he doesn't think that the games are going to interfere with one another. So they decide to head over to kind of like this shore area where they're going to engage in the King of Clubs game. And it seems like there's a lot of like tall freight boxes. And from here, they walk up to the game. They see that there's a table with 4 bracelets, but they need 5 players to play. Well, who's going to be our 5th? And they turn around and Nigiri the punk dude that got burned, that was killed by the general, or at least the general picked him up and ran him into the fire, is there with terrible burns being like, well, I'll play. And they're super hesitant at first, but they're like, okay, fine.
The show's playing a One Piece. If you haven't seen One Piece, especially early on in the show, the writer of the show, Oda, he would, if you did not see the character die, assume they're not dead kind of thing.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's typical in animes. So again, the show has an anime feel, so it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I was saying to Chris that this really then connected to what I was saying earlier about the fact that Kuina pointed out like, oh, like a lot of people survived. And I was like, yeah, a lot of people survived. I'm like, are people actually dying when they're dying in the game? Like, are they? And I was saying to Chris, I had this like twisted thought, like, how crazy would it be if when these people die, they're actually going back to the real world, but you wouldn't know that unless you die. Mm. So it'd just be kind of like a brain fuck kind of thing. Not saying that's what I think exactly was happening, but it was more just like my wheels were turning.
Not saying that I agree with the theory, but to add on to it, I will say earlier on, back when Karube and Shota were still alive, the woman that they were with said that she worked for an AI firm, and that she was essentially like partnering with them, and it was this new AI technology, and that was one of their theories that what this world could be. Now, personally, I don't think that they're going to go with that. Just, oh, it was a video game the whole time. Wow, and you die in the game, you wake up. I don't think that's how it's going to play out, but there is something to note there that it has been brought up, and we have met a character that was involved in AI.
Then we go into meeting the next boss.
Yep, and this is the King of Clubs.
Yep.
And what's his name?
I have it here. Kyuma. There you go.
Kyuma, King of Clubs. Kyuma introduces himself along with his ragtag gang, and
absolutely nude.
Yes, he's really into nudity.
He's really for natural.
Cheeks and all.
He's like, I'm all natural. We're here.
We see everything there. They don't explain the game yet, but he does say that they are the citizens of this country.
Yeah, Arasu asks, like, who are you people? Just like tell us. We don't stop with this facade. And he's like, we're the citizens of this country. And he's like, what? The citizens.
But that's it for season 2, episode 1. Those are really all of our thoughts. We'll get back to you with the next episode of season 2, episode 2, right when we finish watching.
Let us know what your theories are, and no spoilers, please, because we really want to go episode by episode. So, yeah.
All right. Well, who cares? I've been Chris.
Steph.
Bye.